And I think we're live. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing on this Thursday night? Okay, I'm live now. How's everybody doing on Thursday night? We got a special guest. We've got Mr. Dave Nesdall here. Dave, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. So we got quite a few people already in the chat. Let me just quickly go through and see who's in the house here. So Johnny Beane. Hey, Johnny. How's it going, bud?
On JB.
We got Mr. BHB Bruce. How are you? Mitch Heyman. How's it going? Todd, aka Soda Pop. He's back. Poo Ninja. How's it going? Who else we got? Brian Cote. How are you, man? And Jason Wade. How's it going? Cool. Yeah, so it's just like I was asking off there. So Dave, I mean, you know, you're on Johnny's show quite a bit, but I don't know if you've ever had a chance to actually go through and kind of tell people. I mean, obviously everybody knows that, you know, your knowledge of guitar is, you know, like bar none, man. But what got you started into playing, and what got you interested in music, man?
Well, I was always interested in music. I mean, from a very young age, I would sing, you know, I was 2 years old, and I would sing into a little tape recorder with a microphone.
Right.
That I used to call the mica. The mica, you know, that thing when you're very young. And I would sing to the tracks of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
On vinyl, you know.
Nice.
And then I would take the vinyl off and roll it down my driveway. Because that's the kind of kid I was. There were a lot of records, first run records that were ruined by rolling them down the driveway.
That's terrible, man.
It's funny now, but yeah. my dad wanted nothing to do with it. He wanted to kill me.
I can imagine.
But when I was 5 years old, or maybe 6, around that age, I remember vaguely being outside, you know, just throwing the ball up in the air. And my grandmother had said to me, "Would you like to learn how to play guitar?" Wow. And I said, "Okay, sure." You know, just that nonchalantly. I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And she was the landlord of 2 buildings, and in one of the buildings there was a tenant that played guitar and gave guitar lessons. So she made a deal with him to buy me a cheap guitar and give me lessons, and she'd take rent off each month. She'd deduct it from the rent.
Nice. And
he agreed to do that. And I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Kenny. And I remember he had a Telecaster. I always loved Telecasters because that was the first guitar that I didn't own, but that my first teacher taught me with a Blackguard Telecaster, but I you know, not that I knew back then, but I had old pictures, and it was a 70s Blackguard Telly, but it was beautiful, just a beautiful guitar. And he was good. He was a good player, and he was a great teacher. He was really, you know, within a couple weeks, I was learning chords, and you know, on Mel Bay Book 1 and Mel Bay Book 2 and all that, you know, and from there, I started learning a little bit about the Beatles, and
that's cool. You know, so you were what age, Dave, when this was happening? How old were you?
I was about 6. I was about 6 years old.
You had the fingers already big enough to play?
Well, I was a big kid. I was tall. I wasn't always heavy like this, but I was tall. And I was big for my age. And I just remembered that I had a great time taking lessons from my buddy Kenny that lived right across the street. You know, and
that's so cool.
I always looked forward to that hour, and sometimes it was a little more than an hour because, I mean, we were neighbors.
Yeah.
So, And you know, I mean, just you know, to listen to him play, he showed me the first delay unit that I've ever seen in my life. I thought it was two guitar players. I'm like, how are you playing? How is it that there's two guitars playing and you're only one guy? Had no idea. I just couldn't grasp that it was this pedal, you know, doing you know echo. But I was dumbfounded. And it wanted me to. It made me want to learn more and more and more. And I took lessons from him until he moved away. And then I took lessons from another lady in town, but I wasn't. You know, I was a little intimidated because of her teaching style. It was more of a classical thing. She wanted me to use an acoustic guitar, whereas I was using an electric, and I didn't have, you know, it was almost like starting over again.
Exactly, yeah.
Because, you know, the acoustic guitars, you're playing on bridge cables. The strings are so heavy.
Yeah.
And at that age, you know, after playing electric for about a year, you know, or two, maybe close to 2 years, I didn't want to really play because I was hurting. You know? And
that's the thing too, right? Like a lot of people, they have this thing where, you know, when I don't know what it is, but a lot of people think you should start on an acoustic. And then once you learn to play acoustic, then move to electric, right? You know, and the thing is, people that start on that, like my first guitars I was playing on were acoustic guitars, were like, you know, the strings were 3 inches off the fret.
Yeah. How do you play on a guitar like that?
You know, and then at the end of the day, it's like, man, I can't do this. It's too hard.
Yeah.
You know, so like that advice would pull a lot of kids off playing right off the bat.
Exactly. You know what when my advice to new players is to play what you want to play. You know,
exactly.
Play what's going to make you want to play.
What's going to inspire you? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, play something that, you know, if you like a Stratocaster, if you like a color of the guitar when you're that young, you're impressionable. If it's a special shape that you like or whatever, do that. If it's within your price range, get that, because that's going to make you want to play. You know, you're not going to want to play if it's something that's a drag to play.
Exactly. It'll put you off. I just wanted to say hello to a few more people that popped in here. We have David Ennis. How are you? Thomas Santiago. Nice to see you. Fender Guru's in the house. Hey, Fender. Rick Hefner. Gussie Wells. How's it going? Paul Liu. Who else we got? Guitar Pit's here. How are you, Guitar Pit? Guitar Pit, you can live stream now. Your ban is over, by the way. It's an inside joke. Okay, so Guitar Pit's mentioning that he started on a rock bottom Yamaha acoustic and almost gave up. It was torture.
Yeah.
Finally got a Fender Squire after that, and it got him over the hump. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Johnny Beane, how's it going? Question for the guest.
Before you ask that question, please, everyone in the chat, forgive me. I don't have the chat up. It's not working for me for some reason today, and I can't see your comments or questions.
Yeah.
So if I look like I'm not paying attention to you, that's why. Okay.
So that being mentioned, if you have questions, since I'm manning the chat here, if you please tags at Dave Nesdall, I guess at Dave, or actually at Guitar Pit, that would be the best, because then I'll see it right away. Because you can't see the question. So just go at Guitar Pit. So the question that Johnny's asking is, for you, which color sounds better on a guitar?
Johnny.
Yeah, I know. BV Ninja's here. Blackie DH. Rando, how are you? Marco's Images. Everybody's rolling in now. How's everybody doing on this Thursday night? Almost the weekend. Yeah, working for the weekend. Exactly right. Okay, so did you hang around with this, or did you last a while with this teacher, or did you move on? Did you?
Yeah, well, I lasted because I try not to quit things.
Right.
I tend to not be a quitter until I just, either I can't take it anymore, like it's really you're beating a dead horse, or but I did it until she decided that she couldn't teach me any longer. And that was, then I started to learn a little bit on my own. I had gotten other lessons from other teachers. Mind you, I've never learned theory.
No, I thought you would.
No, never learned how to read music. I can read very beginner stuff. Stuff that's not hard. I can read chords. I just can't read single notes. Like if you put a big guitar solo in front of me, or a big thing with, it's forget it. I can't do it. Can't really read charts. I can read chord charts. That's about it. Yeah. So, and then by that time, you're 12, 13, 14-year-olds. You have friends that start to play. You find friends that play music, and you kind of learn off of each other. Right. And then as you're doing that, you're training your ears, and you're listening to records and tapes, and you're pulling the needle off and pushing, and that's how I learned. It's really how I learned, and I loved it. Loved every minute of it. And I really do think that although kids today learn a lot quicker, and they have all this multimedia and all these avenues to learn a lot quicker, I think they're a little spoiled, because I think for just maybe a week in time, they should try it the way we had to do it.
Well, the way we had to do it, Dave, trained your ear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to this day, like, I'll mention this later on when we get into the playing in the bands and that, but I still have if I want to learn a song, just give me the song.
Yeah, give me this. Yeah, absolutely. Give me the song, and I'll listen to it. I'll listen to it, and I'll pull the guitar parts off.
Exactly.
That's what I do.
Yeah. We got Bobby Clipper is in the house. Scotty G, how are you? Bass Hiroshima Nick, nice to see you. Marco's Images. Brian Fingerless Guitar, how are you, man? We got a lot of people popping in now. This is great. Okay, got 28 people watching. This is cool. Oh, actually, sorry. Guitar Pit had a question for you.
Okay.
Back. He wants to know, I want to know Dave's favorite obscure, weird Ibanez models. I love their oddball signatures and stuff. So many cool Satrianis and gems out there. So your favorite obscure Ibanez models?
I'm just getting back into enjoying playing Ibanez guitars. So I don't know that I have any yet. I don't know if I have any obscure ones. I mean, I've always wanted a green multicolor gem, which is the green and black swirl. Right. Always wanted one. I could never find one, and when I could find one, I could never afford one back in the days. I've probably owned any and every guitar you could ever think of, and sometimes multiple of them. I know that being said, and then I say I've owned everything, but it's because I've traded. It's not because of money. I don't necessarily buy guitars, but I've had a revolving stable of guitars almost all my life. Where I'll play, I'll have 2 or 3 guitars, and then I get sick of them and I want something new, and I'll trade a couple of them in for the one that I want. Right. Or when I was working, I did make a lot of money when I was working. I was single, And there was never anyone to tell me to stop. There was never anyone in my life to tell me, no, don't do that, save your money. I just spent it on guitars.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well,
and other stuff. And that's why you see what you see here now. It's just all these guitars that I've basically kind of owned, I mean, I know some of them, most of them look kind of like they're new and they keep revolving, but it's because I've had a revolving stable, and I just keep on, getting new stuff, trading old stuff, and getting new stuff, trading stuff I don't necessarily use anymore.
Right.
Blah blah blah. But
well, that brings about a question. Actually, let me just say hello to a few more people. R2R3 is here. What's up? Doc is here. Dry Heat 480. How's it going? So that brings up the question. So what was your first guitar?
My first guitar, and I had pictures of it somewhere, was I can't tell you the exact year because I was too young, but it was a late 50s Les Paul Jr. So
that's a good start.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, but back in 1975 and 76, that guitar was $80.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was a lot of money for someone to pay for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, and so and
I had no idea what I had. All I know is it was a Sunburst guitar,
right?
Black to yellow, and I played it for quite a while, and and then I traded it for, or sold it for something else. I didn't know what I had. I had no idea about guitars and value. What they were. This guitar was handed to me, so
yeah.
And I was that young. In 75, 76. No one knew from vintage guitar. There was no.
Didn't exist yet.
Vintage.
It wasn't vintage yet.
Yeah, it was just a used guitar, and it was a beginner's used guitar. No one thought that these guitars would be like the holy grail back then. And and that's a guitar that I wish I never sold for two reasons, and because of what it was, and because it was my first guitar.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's long gone. I couldn't even tell you if it's in one piece.
Yeah.
But I have a great memory of having it. So
yeah.
That's cool enough for me.
Mitch Heyman is saying that I've taken maybe 5 or 6 months of total guitar lessons in my 63 years of life. And he says he's learned more in 3 years here on YouTube than he has in 63 years. Oh, there you go.
And you can. You can. Absolutely. That's the good thing about social media and the computer and the internet. It kind of robs you of other things, though.
Oh, yeah.
So
like anything else, you can,
like the ear training that we just spoke about, or working hard at getting the right chord in a song, because you can't be really hearing it correctly, and there's a whole, it's kind of like a treasure chest. When we grew up, it was a treasure chest to be able to learn a song correctly and do it without someone showing you how to do it.
Yeah. Like, I remember one of my proudest moments was learning the riff to Black Dog by slowing down the record. Yeah. Dennis Bro is here. How are you, Dennis? Thanks for popping in. So when did you start playing? Or you said you had some buddies that played. So when did you start playing with, like in bands or anything like that?
My first band, I was 14 years old. Is there a delay happening?
No.
Okay, you don't hear it? Okay. So I'm just going to turn this lower here. I was 14 years old. I played my first gig at a place called Hammerheads here on Long Island. It was a local rock club. And, we had this band, and we played classic rock, Bon Jovi, Dokken, all the 80s rock that you could even,
right. Music of the day.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. Actually, just before that, I'm remembering now. You have to excuse me. I'm
no worries.
Just before that, I remember playing with a bunch of guys that had asked me to play and learn the songs for a battle of the bands at a local school. And I remember I think we played 3 or 4 songs, and it was the biggest high because I had never really played guitar in front of that many people. I couldn't believe how many. It was an outdoor thing.
Right.
Couldn't believe how many people came.
Yeah.
And I was playing a brand new Kramer Beretta with a graphic on it, with a Statue of Liberty graphic and fireworks.
Oh yeah.
And it was just, what a great time. The song sounded good. I mean, the singer was horrible, but you know, who can sing at 14 anyway? 13 and 14, no one.
Right.
But that was a lot of fun. And then from there, I started this band with some kids from school, and there were these 3 brothers, the Cavallone brothers. And the oldest one was the keyboard player. The next in line was the drummer, and then the youngest was the bass player. And I played guitar. And the bass player was a year younger than me. And we were a rock band for 2 years, and we had a great time. And then we got hired to play a wedding.
Oh.
Yeah. And from there, that same band developed into this Italian-American wedding band that we were in for 25 years. Maybe it was 26 years. I don't know.
Wow, that's a hell of a run, man. That is a hell of.
And I remember our first PA system. It was like a Fender Bass 100 with a 215 Fender cabinet, and we'd sing into that.
Yeah.
It was just, it's just funny now, but back then I was like, oh, look at that big speaker, listen to that, listen. We're all playing out of these little Mickey Mouse things.
Yeah.
And we had this big cabinet and head, and it sounded horrible.
What year did you start the wedding? What year was that roughly when you started the wedding band?
I want to say it was like 86.
The reason I'm asking is, like, we were talking about this off air. I did the wedding band thing too, and there was like that was the you hit it right at the peak time, because from about that time, I would say right up until about the mid 90s. Well, you even went longer than that.
Yeah.
But that was a peak time. That's when everybody had a band play at the reception. And then eventually the DJs came in and took it over. But there was that period where, you could play like, year round.
Oh, yeah. And we did.
And you guys did, yeah.
We did, yeah.
They paid very well.
That was, that's basically how I got all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I did it for 4 years, and I bought all the gear that I ever wanted and 2 vehicles in 4 years.
Yeah.
It was crazy money. It was just, yeah.
Well, I'll give you numbers. I remember we were doing, once we got good enough, and I want to say like starting around 87, 88, we were doing not only weddings, but we would do feasts and carnivals and stuff, and we would do a bunch of stuff. We started off as a 5-piece. We started off as a 5-piece, ended up as a 7-piece with 3 roadies. And we would probably do anywhere between 80 and 150 weddings a year.
Wow.
And we were doing them for between $8,000 and $10,000 a wedding.
Oh, wow.
Not the whole time, but that's like the peak. The peak was like between $8,000 and $10,000 a wedding.
Oh, you got me beat. But yeah, that's great.
it was, and we weren't all paid, evenly, but I was a partner, so I got one of the bigger chunks.
Yeah.
But the three partners were the bass player, drummer, and keyboard player, because it was really their idea, and they were brothers. And I was still an outsider, even though I was there from the beginning. I wasn't family. And the female vocalist married the drummer, so she was a full partner. Right. And then the male vocalist, he got paid a certain amount, and the roadies, I think, they started off getting like $60, and then we gave them 100 and however much.
Yeah.
But it was very lucrative for a very long time.
Oh yeah, no, you guys. Yeah, I guess the rates in Long Island are a lot better than they are here. That being said, though, you mentioned the singer married the drummer. I mean, the other reason why it was so lucrative for me is I was married to the singer, and there was a 4-piece.
Okay. So
that was taking half of it, and yeah, we did the feasts, we did big festivals. Yeah, and actually one year we actually got flown to California for a show, which was really, I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So there was some, yeah, that's like, and the biggest, I'll never play to crowds that big ever again. Never. Because when you're playing like an outdoor feast, or even I've played, even New Year's Eve parties where they have like a full hall, 700-800 people, like, I'll never play to those crowds again. Now I play now, but I play bars. So
Yeah. Can you give me just 1 second?
Yeah, go for it. I'm just gonna say hello to some of the other people that popped in. Sucking Wind, how are you? We got Brian Stewart. How's it going? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. If I do, I apologize. R2R3, buddy, how's it going? Who else? Suave Trainwreck, how are you, man? Okay. Dennis, I'll ask that question when Dave gets back. I saw your question. I will answer that when Dave gets back. Oh, there's my wife. Have a great show. Thanks. Thank you. Hey, Hacking. Oh, Todd Flowers, how are you, man?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Actually, my wife is doing a gig right now.
Oh, okay.
She says, have a great night, ready for sound check. And then she's doing a charity thing right now. Yeah, my wife is a singer. That's, actually, she's the one, I was the guy I was the hired gun. It was her thing. That's kind of funny. There was a question for you here. This is from Dennis Bro. He's asking, does anyone have an opinion on EMG retro pickups? Wasn't a big EMG fan, but I like the retros in my Schecter SVSS3 and regular SVSS.
I've never used the retros before. I wouldn't be able to tell you whether I like them or not. I'm playing a guitar right now that has EMGs in it, and I'm not a fan of EMGs.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I'm kind of digging them in this. It's an EMG 89 and a couple of SAs.
Right.
But I like to hear the sound of the wood of the guitar. I'm really not one of those guys that I don't really care for hearing the pickup sound. I want to hear the wood. And this is not using these pickups. You don't really hear the wood, but this guitar is just so good and such a comfortable guitar.
Yeah.
That I enjoy playing it. So
yeah, it's a pretty sharp looking, a very distinctive looking guitar too.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of EMG pickups. I'm more a fan of passive pickups.
Yeah, me too.
And I'd rather have them be low output.
Yeah, I am totally with you on that. All my pickup, I don't like hot pickups at all. I like very, very passive. Even the ceramics, I don't like. You know, Shauna Marie sings, and Rando are here. How are you? So you did the wedding thing for a long time. So I guess that, I mean, there was that must have been your mainstay. I mean, there wouldn't be any other time.
I had a day job too. I worked in music stores during the day. I worked
in terms of playing. I mean, that must have been your day.
Well, I did that, and I did classic rock blues band as well.
On the side.
Yes, on the side when I wasn't doing weddings. Yeah, I kept very busy for a very long time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So when did you? Okay, the music store thing. So when did that all start?
In '95, I applied for a job at Manny's Music in Manhattan.
Oh, the famous Manny's. Yeah.
Yes. And I got the job there, and I worked there until almost '99, around late '98, early '99.
Right.
And I met quite a few people while I was there, quite a few celebrities. In fact, a lot of celebrities. And I sold a lot of guitars and made a lot of contacts and made a lot of friends there. It was probably some of the best times of my life. I can't even begin to say, the stories. Just there's so many stories. But
just give us what first one that pops in your head.
I mean, the biggest one is the Eddie Van Halen story.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, there's really two of them.
Okay.
In '97, the store gets a call from someone working with Eddie Van Halen, saying that he's going to be in town and he's not bringing a guitar with him, and he needs a guitar. He's looking for a Wolfgang to do a session. Had no idea what the session was, and the store didn't have any Wolfgangs in stock. They didn't have any yet. But there was one. Eddie had said, "Well, anything with 2 pickups and a Floyd on it." So the store had one Ernie Ball Music Man, Eddie Van Halen, left, but it was in a box, and it was belonged to a customer that hadn't picked it up yet. So we called the customer and said, listen, Eddie Van Halen is coming into town. This sounds far-fetched, but he would like to borrow your guitar to do this session.
Wow.
Because he's not bringing one, and that's the only one that we have in the store that's like what he uses.
Right.
The customer said no.
He said no?
The customer said no. He did not want the box open.
Wow.
So I got in contact with the guy working with Eddie, and I said, listen, the only thing I can do is I can go home to Long Island and lend him one of my personal guitars.
Right.
He can take it for as long as he needs, and then, when he's done, return it to the store. So I'm just trying to remember the whole story now. So I guess he got back to Eddie, and Eddie said that was fine, but Eddie had called the store and asked for me and asked how long it would take for me to get home and then come back. And the whole time I'm on the phone with Eddie Van Halen, freaking out, like, I can't believe I'm talking to Eddie Van Halen.
Wow.
So I said, I don't know, 3-hour round trip, because I had to take a train. Figure the whole thing would be 3 hours. And that was fine. I went home, got my Ernie Ball, and came back, and he picked it up, took it for a week, and then returned it, and used it for that whole, whatever he did. There was talk that it was Thomas Dolby, but Johnny Beane and I seemed to think it wasn't Thomas Dolby. It was someone else. Anyway, he worked with someone else. He was doing something. So he returns it, and the whole time he has my guitar, I'm thinking to myself, God, I hope he doesn't sign my guitar, because I want to play my guitar. I don't want to have this guitar that I play,
right,
have this autograph on it that, oh my God, it's a great autograph, but now I'm not going to play this guitar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I get the guitar back, and it wasn't signed. And in the gig bag was, you know, the set of strings. He opened up the strings, and on the inside of the pack, he wrote me a note, and it said something like, "Thank you so much for your guitar. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't sign it for contractual reasons. I hope this is good enough." And he signs it, and then threw a bunch of his guitar picks in there as well.
Okay.
And I was like, "Well, that's cool." And I framed the whole thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you must have framed that, yeah.
And that was the first story with Eddie Van Halen.
Nice.
The second story, and I'll try to make it as quick as possible. A year later, I get a phone call from Eddie Van Halen asking for me personally. So I pick up the phone. I'm like, you know, I thought I'd never hear from him again. I was like, I just did, you know, I did a favor for my hero.
Right.
Who says that? Who gets to say that? Who gets to do something like that? No one. Meanwhile, the next year, I get a phone call from him, and he's asking me to do another favor. Can I bring a 5150 combo amp to the Howard Stern show, because they're going to be at Howard Stern doing this interview for the new record with Gary Sharon and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah,
I
blah,
saw
blah.
that.
And he asked, can you bring a delay pedal, an octave pedal, a wah pedal, and all this stuff.
Right, right.
And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I go get all the way to where the Howard Stern show is, and then I get a phone call, a call on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's him calling me on my cell phone. I'm like, how'd you get my number? Your boss gave it to me. He says, I got to ask you, can you send that stuff? Can you bring that stuff to my hotel room now? Because I want to make sure it works here. I just want to.
Right.
I want to play at the hotel. And I'm like, absolutely. So I get in a cab with this 120-pound amp and all these pedals, and I go up to the Regal Royale. And he's under the assumed name of Dean Martin, so I go up and ask for Dean Martin, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So Scotty Ross, their tour manager, comes down, brings me up to Eddie's hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting in Eddie's hotel room for like 3 or 4 hours because he's doing interviews. Because they said, "Wait, you could shake his hand and meet him, and he'd like to thank you for doing this."
Right.
All of a sudden, he walks into the room and screams, "Dave!" And I remember almost having a heart attack because,
oh wow,
it was just a crazy, amazing feeling.
That's amazing, man.
So needless to say, we're talking about guitars, we're talking about golf. He's setting up this amplifier. I'm watching him play his purple PV Wolfgang that I'm like drooling over. And he was like, "Well, we're going to be here for a week. Do you want to hang? I could use you. If you want to like shadow me and be my buddy, my little buddy for the week." And I'm like, "I guess so. I don't know. I have to work."
Right.
So he gets on the horn with my boss and says, "Is it possible I can use you, Dave, for the week?" And my boss was like, "Well, he'll have to go on vacation. He'll have to take his vacation time." And of course, I took my vacation time.
Right.
And hung out with Van Halen for a week and did, just basically whatever Eddie asked me to do, or, I was there with him. I carried his guitar for him. I, just hung out with him. I was his little, liaison.
Yeah. That's really amazing.
That's the gist of the whole thing. But we went places. I mean, I will not tell you the whole story because the story can get a little raunchy.
I guess. Yeah.
As meeting the guys in Van Halen, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the last part is, on Friday. Friday's my normal day off from work, so I'm sleeping in, and I was married at the time. I had gone home and I was sleeping in a little bit, and the phone rings, and my then wife picks up the phone, and the guy on the phone says, "Is David there?" So she's like, "Well, he's sleeping at the moment. It's his day off. Could you please wake him up and tell him it's Eddie Van Halen?" And she's like, "Yeah, bullshit, not believing anything that I've said the whole week. My ex-wife thought I was out cheating on her, for God's sake. She thought I was out drinking with my buddies, after work every night.
Oh my God.
Not really believing that I was with Van Halen.
Oh.
And when she woke me up and said, some moron is on the phone saying he's Eddie Van Halen, here's the phone, I'm like, well, you need to apologize to that moron because it is Eddie Van Halen. And it's just, I spoke to him and they were leaving. And he wanted to say goodbye, and I had left a couple of my guitars to get autographed by him, and it was at the hotel.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, you could pick it up at the front desk, and they'll be there safe for you, but we got to leave." Mm-hmm. Blah blah blah, and all that stuff. Needless to say, that whole tour, whenever they were in New York, I had gotten tickets. I was only able to see one show, but they did several shows that round, and I had weddings that I couldn't do. I couldn't get out of doing weddings each time. So I only got to see them once that whole tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were you able to keep in touch anyway after that?
Well, the next time that I met up with Eddie Van Halen was, I want to say, in 2007, after I had sold so many of the Frankenstein replicas. I can't even remember how many I sold. I sold probably like 8 of them, I think, working for Guitar Center. And that got back to Eddie, and Eddie invited me and the guitar department to come see them play, and I got to hang out with him. And
did he remember you?
Yeah, well, after I retold him who I was, he said he did, but I'm sure he's had so many people like me do that for him that how could he possibly really remember? Yeah. So he was probably just being nice, saying, "Oh yeah, dude, how you doing?" Meanwhile, he's like, "Thank you for selling all my guitars."
Yeah. So you mentioned the Guitar Center. So when did that happen? When you left Matt? So
2001. 2001, I went to work at Guitar Center, and I worked there for about 10 years.
Okay. And that was straight from Manny's, was it?
Not straight from Manny's. I did another job while I was looking for, because I kind of got blown out of selling. I was sick of selling guitars. Right. And I did something else. I did some security stuff, which kind of like the police is my other passion, which is we won't even get into. But I could never be a cop because I was either sick or overweight or couldn't do whatever. So I was a security guard for a while, and then went up the ranks and became a boss until I didn't want to do that anymore. So I went back to selling guitars.
That's what you love. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. If anybody has any questions, sorry, I've been engrossed in this Eddie Van Halen story. I haven't been really looking much at the chat, but I am looking now. Okay, here's a question. So Soda Pop's asking Dave about the Malmsteen story.
All right. Well, I was at Manny's, and I was on the phone with a customer that was ordering, I don't know, a dozen Music Man basses or so. A Japanese customer. Right. And Malmsteen comes in, and I'm behind the counter, and he wanted to get my attention, so he said, "Excuse me, can you help?" And I said, "I'll be off the phone in 1 second. I'm just taking this order." And we worked on commission. I don't care who you are when you come in. If I'm with a customer, I'm with a customer. Give me a moment, and I'll come to you. And he didn't to make a long story short, he didn't want to wait, and he poked me in the chest really hard. "Do you know who I am?" Oh, wow. And I said, "Yeah, I know exactly who you are. give me a moment. And I turned my back to him, and I went back to my customer. And then I told the boss, you know, that Malmsteen was very rude and that he, you know, made my chest black and blue.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, he was not he was just not patient. That being said, though, I would still like to meet him today and shake his hand because he's an amazing guitar player.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so if anybody has any
in fact, I would like to shake his hand and tell him that story and see what he has to say. Hey, do you remember?
Yeah.
Or poke him in the chest as I'm telling him the story.
Exactly. Jeff Underwood is here. How are you, Jeff? Well, you got 37 people watching. So if anybody has any questions for Dave, Dave is, he was mentioning earlier, he's not looking at the chat. I have the chat in front of me here. So if you have questions for Dave, just put @GuitarHack, and then I'll be able to see them right away. So you're at Guitar Center. So I mean, you said you got tired of selling guitars. Is that what you were doing, Guitar Center, or did you have another function there?
Well, yeah, I started off as a guitar salesman, became the guitar department manager, then assistant manager, and then the sales manager.
Mm-hmm.
When I was ready, by the time I was ready to leave, well, there was a couple factors. I had gotten sick, and I hurt my foot. And being diabetic, it got, you know, when you're working in a music store, they don't let you sit. So it's 8 to 10 hours a day on your feet walking, and I would get these big holes in my feet, you know, and I couldn't, and it would be very painful and not pleasant. So I'd have to stay off my feet. I had gotten one really bad one, like a big ulcer on the bottom of my foot, and had to take a leave of absence. But at the same time, the powers that be, the big bosses, were telling us to do this one promotion, which we all were behind. We were behind it, and we did it. And then like the very next week, they stopped that promotion and told us to do exactly opposite. And ethically, I couldn't do that. I just felt, well, last week ethically this was wrong, and now you want us to do this? I can't. I don't believe in this company anymore, because, you know, they're telling us to do things that even the week before was like forbidden to do.
Right.
You know, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't grasp it. And instead of just doing my job and getting paid, you know, I was like, I've had enough. I couldn't do it anymore. So I became a professional musician full time.
Oh. You know, actually, Broken Chains is asking, what age did you start playing seriously, and then eventually we covered that, Broken Chains. Yeah, we covered that. So if you want to watch the replay and watch the beginning of the chat, that's what we went through. But thanks for the question, Broken Chains. JJK is in the house. How are you? Frank Corcoran is here. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is doing well. So, professional musician, in what capacity? Like, were you like didn't you
gigging
anything?
I started getting gigs and working, you know, 5 to 6 nights a week playing music.
Beautiful.
Between the weddings and then, you know, during the week running open mic jams and you know, just doing blues gigs and whatever I could do. Whatever I could do, I did.
A lot of hustling, I'm sure, to get your.
There was a lot of hustling, and there was a lot of hustling to be done. In the beginning, it was very lucrative. Bar owners were willing to pay. It was worth it.
Yeah.
But you know, later on, I mean, now, I mean, I'm not lifting my gear for $50. Just not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, plus, you know, I'm the guy with the PA. So I have the PA and my rig, and I set it up and break it down. And I get the same pay as everyone else. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a weekend at this point. I'm a weekend warrior. I play bars.
Yeah, but even doing bar gigs,
no, there's
same thing.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, I don't care if I'm a weekend warrior or doing it 6 days a week or whatever the case may be. It's just not. It's not worth it. There's too much. You know, I don't want to be tagged as a full-time mover, part-time player.
Yeah,
moving gear for a living. You know, I break bones easy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the reality. I mean, what I was gonna say, like being the weekend warrior and playing bars. Like honestly, I only do it for the love of it, like for the love of playing. That's the only reason. I mean, you can't. The money isn't there. I made way more in 1992 than I make now. And I mean, if it was a money thing, like it's not worth me even getting out of bed for, to be honest with you.
Well,
but it's strictly doing it just because I love playing.
I agree with you, but there comes a time where, you know, just doing it for yourself is not enough. Because I could do it for myself right here in my living room. I can invite a few people over and just play. Mm-hmm. And I play now every day. And I have more fun playing in my living room than I do playing in bars because no one seems to care. Nobody cares about the music. You get treated like a second-rate citizen by the bar owners. And no one's listening to you anyway. And half the time they're telling you to turn down because they want to talk to their friends.
Yeah, all that happens.
And I just, you know, I consider playing music for people a gift. It's not only a gift for me, but it's a gift that I'm giving everyone else because I'm giving enjoyment, you know, to people going out to have a good time and to hear some music. Some people, you know, and other people just, you know, you want to go.
Well, yeah.
It becomes at some point it becomes like, well, why am I doing it? You know, it has to be more. There has to be a little bit more than just self-enjoyment because it's too much work for self-enjoyment.
Well, that's a personal.
For me, yes. Like I said before, when I say something, that's an opinion. This is my opinion. It's my opinion. You know that.
Yeah. So. My take on it is, I'm at I've been in the same band now for about 4 years, and we're at a point now where we can kind of pick and choose where we play. And if we've played, and there are places that we played where what you've said is absolutely true, where the crowd doesn't give a crap, the bar owner, you know, whatever, and we're in a position now where, and you know, they ask us to come back, and we just say no. So we're in a position where we're picking and choosing where we're playing. So now the places that we play, we're playing them for the reason that people, you know, there's a crowd, people are up dancing and enjoying themselves, and we're enjoying ourselves. Because if we're not having fun, for us, it's all about having fun. If we're not having fun, then I totally get what you're saying, and it's like, yeah, you know what? No. The money part of it, honestly, that's not even part of the equation. It's, you know, I'll take my amp. We just had to go and buy a whole new PA. You know, we'll do all of that if the gigs are fun and we're all enjoying ourselves. So it's not a money thing. But if we go and we play a place and we have a bad experience, we're not going back there again. And you know, it took a while to get to a point where we can turn places down, and I'm happy we're at that point now. Mm-hmm. You know, and and I mean, you know, we've got already quite a few shows already booked for next year, and when the calls are coming in, you know, we're like not saying yes to everybody, because if we had a bad experience this year, we're sure as hell not going back next year.
Right, I understand that, And if it was just a question of me carrying an amp and a guitar to a gig, it's a no-brainer. That's not a lot to carry to have to go and have a good time.
Right.
When you're the sole guy that carries the whole PA.
No.
In the dead of winter, and your amp, and then you got to break it down yourself and put it in your car, and then get it out of your car and put it in your garage or wherever. For me personally, way too much work for not enough return. No,
I get that. I mean, with us, it's a democracy, right? Like, you know, we got 4 guys carrying stuff, and 4 guys, you know, literally, I have pieces of the PA. they're right beside me here. You know, so I'll bring the monitors.
I see.
Yeah, I'll bring the monitors. Somebody else will bring, you know, whatever, you know, and it's all divvied up, and the money is equally shared. Not that there's a hell of a lot of it, but it's all equally shared, you know. And you mentioned the winter thing. That's where we stop. We don't gig in the winter, right? Our last gig, my last gig for the year is it's tomorrow night. I'm not going to go out there in January, February, or March. I'm not going out there. Like, we're all, like, we're not young puppies. We're all roughly in the 50 range, you know, and we're like, the last thing I want to do, man, is drive through bad weather, you know, and cart my stuff in and out of a bar when it's minus, you know, in Celsius, minus 10 here. You know?
Sure. I understand. Yeah. I totally get it.
Yeah. So we keep it fun in that regard. We got a few more people popped in. Angelo, Richetti, how are you? John Harden, thanks for popping in. Thanks, Bruce. Bruce is just saying, highlight my name if you want to ask a question. Dave's doesn't have the chat, so I am the only one at the chat, having the chat. So if you have questions, highlight me, and then I can ask Dave. And as I said that, let me go back up and see. So Jimmy had a question, and if I can't find it, and I can't find it. Sorry, Jimmy. Ask it again and highlight my name, please. And then I'll be able to ask Dave. So you must have gone through ballpark. How many guitars?
Over 1,000.
That's insane, man. Wow.
Keep in mind, I worked at Manny's Music, and I worked at Guitar Center.
I know, it's still
for a total of 15 years.
Yeah, but
and be able to get
100 a year.
Well, to also think the wedding band money and the fact that I worked at these stores, at the prices I could get these guitars for. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not paying full price for anything. You know?
Right. That's wow. Glenn James, how's it going? Okay, yeah, you know what? I said we were going to go for an hour, and we got about 2 minutes left. So, Ben's show comes on in a couple of minutes, Connects with Guitars. So everyone, please go and check that out. I want to thank Dave Nesdall for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, and please subscribe to each other. Check my Facebook page below. Dave, you have a YouTube channel, don't you, Dave?
Yeah. Just it's YouTube David Nesdall.
Okay, I'll put the link below for Dave's channel if I haven't already. I may have. My memory's pretty crap, but if I haven't, I'll tag Dave's channel on there. So yeah, sub to Dave Nesdall. If you haven't subbed to me, please do. If you haven't checked out my Facebook page, please do. I also have a lot of great channels listed below, and also on my subscriber list. So please, sub to all those people. They're all music channels, and they're all fantastic. I discovered a couple new ones today. So yeah, let's all keep the community growing, keep it all positive, and keep it a happy place. Any last things you wanted to mention, Dave?
Yeah, real quick. Just I wanted to thank my partners on my show, Johnny and Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you guys can subscribe to the EVH Gear Live Facebook page as well.
Okay, I'll throw that link in there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, will do. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all on Monday. This coming Monday, I will be having a live stream with our good friend Jason Wade. So check that out on Monday night. Okay, we'll see you all then, folks. Take care. Cheers.